The Detroit Lions are a new team in more ways than one. They have developed a new attitude, a new mindset, and most importantly, a new culture. But one such player is taking that cultural mindset and adding it to words on the field. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned. It started with an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy.
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
Who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
Led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now. Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and we're diving in right now. As always, I just want to say thank you all for coming back to the show. Thank you all for your view. Thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for your support. And for those that are just tuning into the show for the first time, thank you for deciding to watch the show today. Hopefully I gain your subscription. And without further ado, we're going to dive in. But before that, just want to say God bless and enjoy the show. So, here's the thing, folks. We Lions fans, and more rather large part, the NFL knows that the Lions are a completely different team. They are not the same Lions of old. The SOL mindset has been dead now for a little bit, and I'm loving every single moment of it. I fought for a long time on my old channel against the SOL mindset, against SOL fans, against SOL culture, or just against SOL in general, because I was so tired of that mindset, of that just permeating stink that was on the Detroit Lions fan base. I wanted it gone, I wanted it dead, and I'm so glad that it is. But here's the thing. One of the things we have to talk about when moving from that part of the Lions' history to the current look that the Lions have now, and what I mean is moving from SOL to New Era Lions, is that, how did this whole thing get started? Well, obviously, if you've been a Lions fan, the hiring of Dan Campbell, hiring of Brad Holmes, how they've built this roster has definitely been the biggest important factor as far as how that has happened, because let's understand something here. The types of players that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have brought onto this ball club has completely transformed how this team operates. And it's because of the fact that these players that the Lions are bringing in, the players that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are signing to this roster, they very, very closely emulate the kind of players, the kind of attitude, the kind of mindset, the kind of culture that the Lions are looking for, and pretty much what Dan Campbell himself represents as the head football coach for the team. Again, these players follow pretty much exactly how Dan Campbell is and how he operates, and they play it on the field and how they hold themselves, how they go to practice. You get what I'm trying to explain here. But here's the thing, folks. For the last 2 years, as we've kind of been building this whole thing up, this year, 2023, is the year where I think it kind of has culminated into this grand crescendo where it's just okay, now we're getting ready to see the full fruit of what we've been waiting for. The harvest is about to come in. All that hard work, all of that stuff that we've been waiting for over the last 2 years, okay, now we're about to start reaping the benefits of all those seeds that we sowed going through 2021, going through 2022, and almost getting there. Now we're at the point where we can start seeing some of the fruit of our labors, so to speak. But here's the thing. When you take a look at how this year has started, for the most part, the Lions have, handled their business. I mean, they go into Kansas City, they win that game. It wasn't the greatest game in the world. They won by 1 point. They then beat the Atlanta Falcons 20-6. And then the one that really kind of put, the stamp of approval on everything was when we went into Lambeau at prime time and pretty much just stomped an absolute mud hole in the freaking Packers and pretty much embarrassed them on national television and pretty much told the rest of the NFL and the NFC North that, hey, this is the Lions division now. We now own the NFC North. If you're gonna want to win the NFC North, it's now gonna have to go through Detroit. Again, we heard freaking Sheila say it last year. We heard Dan Campbell also repeat it. All roads lead to Detroit, and that's kind of now the mindset that now is going on in the NFC North. If you're gonna want to win in the NFC North, you're gonna have to go through Detroit to do it. But here's the thing, though. One of the things that I normally don't do on my show is I don't really give a lot of credence, I don't really give a lot of leverage, or any sort of levity, if you will, to freaking rumors, because I don't really like talking about rumors, because one, there's not really any way to verify if it's true, and two, oftentimes rumors prove to be inaccurate anyway, they prove to be false, and it's like, listen, somebody just made something up and it was whatever. But every so often, there is one rumor, whether it's true or false, that I can't help but not talk about, because even if it's false, it's just absolute gold. And what I mean by that is because of the message of what it's trying to send here. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode here. So let's get into that. Let's go back to Thursday night when we played the Packers. Obviously, we know how that game went. The Lions pretty much dominated the majority of the game. It never was anywhere particularly close, except when the Packers kind of made a third quarter rally and got down to 10. But then Quay Walker, being the 12th Detroit man on the field, kind of helped us out and pretty much put the game away for where the Packers couldn't get anywhere close to us again. So that's pretty much the summation of the game. But one of the things I found out about a day or so later is that there was a post that was put on Reddit, which led me to a Twitter post that is by a guy that goes by the handle of Sparty World, and that's spelled WRLD. And pretty much what this Twitter account posted is that prior to the game, Aiden Hutchinson, our number 1 overall draft pick back a year ago, so the number 2 overall draft pick, but our first round draft pick in 2022, outside of, Jameson Williams, he apparently went to the Packers sideline before the game got started. And apparently, according to this Twitter post, what happened was an anonymous Packer player told him that when he was walking on said sideline, that he went straight up to Jordan Love and he said, and I quote, to lace up his cleats because it is going to be a effing long game. And I'm making sure I don't use that hard word because, again, I don't like trying to swear, at least on this show. If you want to see something else like that, I have my live show, which is different. But again, on this show, I try to keep it as PC as possible. But here's the thing. That whole framework of that Twitter post, whether it's true or not, kind of, how do I put this here? I'm trying to frame this the right way. What that pretty much shows is a different kind of cultural identity, a different kind of attitude, and as I've said, mindset to what this Lions franchise has right now. Because let's think about this. If you go back 10, 15, 20, 25 years, this kind of nonsense would never have come out. Now, granted, obviously, with the advances in technology, the advances in social media, a lot more of these stories are starting to come out. But this is just something that doesn't fit the normal Detroit media kind of style, because normally, the Lions never act like, hey, we're going to pretty much put the whooping on you, and we're going to back it up on the field. That was never something that pretty much ever happened in Detroit. For anyone that's been a Detroit Lions fan, we never once heard a story about how somebody potentially went over to somebody else's sideline, pretty much played this whole mindset out like, hey, you know what? We're coming for you, and it's going to be a long day. You better come and be ready to play. That's just not something that's happened in Detroit for a long time, especially with the Lions. So for me, I'm trying to put this in the context that it is. So bear in mind, as I said before, this is only a rumor. It has not been substantiated or been 100% verified. But the reason I'm talking about it is because it's just so freaking emblematic of the freaking, Detroit Lions right now and what Dan Campbell has built with this roster. Because think about it. If this is true, and Aiden Hutchinson actually did do this, sent this message to Jordan Love, it's not just to Jordan Love he sent it to. It's to the entire NFC North, including the Packers, including the Bears, and including the Vikings. Because think about it. That attitude that he gave to pretty much Jordan Love, if it was true, is not just going to be solely reserved for the Packers. Let's be real here. It's not just going to be just for them. It's going to be for everybody in the division. And realistically, if we want to just think about it in a much more larger perspective, it's for everybody in the NFL. And why do I say this? Because if you think about it, this is not just Hutchinson that is pretty much having this attitude. Even though Hutchinson is the one that's in this rumor that supposedly stated it, it's the entire team. This attitude, this mindset, it permeates the entire team of the Detroit Lions because it starts at the top with Dan Campbell. And all of the players exhibit it. And the reason why I know this is because, again, let's go back to that exact same game that I'm talking about after the Packers' victory that the Lions had on Thursday night. Goff had two very specific incidents that kind of fit into this whole category that I'm talking about, this different attitude, this different mindset. And I'm pretty much going to put this out there. For anybody that watched the post-game stuff, Goff had an interview with David Montgomery with the Thursday night panel, the broadcasting team. And if you watch the pre-game stuff, pretty much what happened is Ryan Fitzpatrick said that Jared Goff was a poor man's Matt Ryan. Well, when the game was over, Jared Goff went afterwards to have that interview with David Montgomery and the different analysts and, the commentators from that game. And pretty much Fitzpatrick said something, pretty much was like, hey, you had a good game. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I wanted to make sure I stacked up to your standards because I didn't think I was a poor man's anything. And that just started off a whole chain reaction, not only with the Thursday night crew that actually heard it actually when it happened, but also the entire Twitterverse, if you want to call it that, of Lions fans and everybody else, because it pretty much showed that Goff has a feisty side to him. He's not just going to let somebody say something like that to him and pretty much, not let that go unchecked. And again, Goff kind of said the same thing also in the actual official press conference with the reporters. He pretty much someone asked him about the fact of playing in prime time and whether or not they liked it, and pretty much Jared Goff said this. He's like, "Listen, we enjoy playing in prime time. Send us anywhere, send us to play anybody. We'll be ready." Again, it's a different attitude. It's a different mindset, and it's not just Hutchinson. It's not just Goff. It's the entire Detroit Lions team, and you can clearly see it with how these Lions play. You can see it in the rookies, for crying out loud. Brian Branch literally lowering the boom on players, doesn't care if he gets penalized. He's like, listen, F it, I'll take the penalty. You see it with the different other players, like Sam Laporta, like he's running through players on the defense to get extra yardage per catch after he's made the catch. It's a different mantra. It's a different attitude, like I've been saying. And it literally falls all the way down from Dan Campbell down to the bottom player on that roster. The Lions literally, how do I put this? Again, if you've been a Lions fan for as long as I've been alive and even longer, the Lions for a long time, almost since the end of the Barry era, have pretty much been a punching bag, have pretty much been the butt end of all jokes, pretty much have been said, listen, if you want to collect a retirement check or you want to go and have your career end, you go to Detroit because Detroit can't do anything. And we've heard all of these jokes, we've heard all of these statements, we've heard it from the national analysts, we've heard it from our own local Detroit media, we've heard it from other players, we've seen how hard it is to get freaking quality free agents. Like, we know the story. We've heard it for years, for decades. That's over with. The SOL mindset, like I was talking about in the very beginning of this episode, it's done, it's dead, it's buried, and I couldn't be much more thankful for that being the case. But what's going on here with this rumor about Aiden Hutchinson and all the stuff that we do know has been verified as far as what Goff has said about what we've seen with players on the field, it shows that the Detroit Lions, the players of the Detroit Lions, the coaches of the Detroit Lions, the organization of the Detroit Lions, the ownership, it doesn't matter. They will no longer be that punching bag. They're no longer going to be the butt end of the jokes. I'm telling you this right now. We've heard it from Dan Campbell and all the other stars of the team. The Lions are hungry. They are hungry, they are feisty, and they are coming to kick ass, and they are coming to take names. Because that right now is the mindset, that right now is the mission. Listen, we are going to take this one game at a time. We are going to play the opponent that we have on any given Sunday. Doesn't matter if it's a Thursday night game, a Monday night game, a Sunday night game, or a Sunday afternoon game. We are coming in, we are going to kick your ass, we are going to take your name, and we are going to plant it on our mantle and say, yes, we beat your ass. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, we still beat your ass. That's the whole point here. What Aiden Hutchinson did or did not do in terms of this rumor is irrelevant. The point of the matter is, what it's showing here is, yet again, this attitude that the Lions have is absolutely just fantastic. Because what it shows is that the Lions simply don't give a care anymore. They're not going to let anybody else tell them what they are, or who they can't play against, or who they can be. You get what I'm trying to say here. The Lions are like, listen, we don't care who we play. We're still going to come out there and we're still going to find a way to win. And that's exactly what Aiden Hutchinson was pretty much telling Jordan Love. That's exactly what Jared Goff was telling Ryan Fitzpatrick. That was exactly what Jared Goff was telling the NFL. And that's exactly what the players have said against the opponents that they played against up until this point. We don't care who you are. We are going to come out there. We're going to sock you in the mouth. We're going to kick ass and we're going to take names. That's the whole point. So, I know I got a little bit on a tangent there, and I do apologize for my repeated use of that three-letter word there. But again, you get the message that I'm trying to say here. The attitude has clearly changed. The mantra has clearly changed. The whole freaking mindset and culture has completely done a 180 for the Detroit Lions, because it's like, okay, we're no longer that feeble team that's just going to be the punching bag. We're now going to be the one that's going to be socking you in the mouth, and you're going to have to sit down and take your punishment because we've been taking it for the last 20-something years. But anyway, folks, I figured I'd make this episode because this was something that I just absolutely wanted to talk about. Whether it's true or not makes no difference. The evidence has been seen on the field with how these Lions play, and we've seen and heard enough of it in post press conferences to know that even if Aiden Hutchinson didn't say this, the attitude is definitely there. So I figured you guys would enjoy this episode. I definitely enjoyed talking about it. It was definitely fun for me. But without further ado, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and just want to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to do one of these three things, or do all three of them. That's even better. I highly encourage y'all, please, to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you've not yet had a chance to do so after watching this video, I highly encourage y'all, please make sure you turn on that bell notification icon at the bottom of the page. It helps out the channel so that way you never miss any more content that I push out, because we want to keep you guys coming back to the channel to get more and more Lions updates. So let's keep it up, folks. Let's keep getting that subscriber count out, and let's keep getting the bell icon turned on. And I also encourage y'all, please share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere that you can with anybody and everybody that you can. Let's keep getting the message out. Let's keep rebuilding this channel. Please, I highly encourage y'all to do it. And with that, folks, I just want to again say thank you all for tuning into another episode for MCM Motor City Mania. Whether you've been a return visitor or you just tuned in, I highly encourage y'all to keep coming back. And with that, I just want to say thank you all for your patronage, your view, your support. God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.